If only I can touch the hem of his cloak, I will be healed. Welcome to a word of hope for Monday of the 14th week in Ordinary Time. My name is Father Brendan Curran, Dominican promoter for justice and peace for North America, joining you once again as we celebrate the proud witness of a bold woman in the Gospel of Matthew. Jesus, as you know, in his public ministry, came to villages and towns, and his reputation preceded him. And this village was no different from what we hear in the Gospel of Matthew today. Plenty of crowds gather around him. A woman hears from villagers that Jesus is coming, and she sets out to go and break through the crowds, nudging their arms and their hips to make sure she can sneak forward. And she shouts out with a loud voice of conviction, if I can only touch the hem of his cloak, I will be healed. How many ways do we feel that kind of sense of faith? I'm not sure I have that depth of faith, though there are good days for me. But that kind of sense of faith? This hemorrhaging woman in the gospel reminds me of a man who came to Mass just last Sunday on Chicago's West Side, where I celebrated Mass. And the standing room only, lots of crowds of people at the Mass. And right before we got to the communion moment of celebrating communion, and as you know, as you get up pew by pew to come forward in procession to receive the Eucharist, a man broke through the crowd with his wheelchair. Older man, frail man, clearly in pain and struggle. He had an oxygen tank with a connection to his nose and the tank attached to his chair. We all were stunned by it as he moved his wheels forward and moved through the crowds to receive first Holy Communion. Everyone, once they saw the man and who it was that was coming through, made way for him in awe of his faith. That's the spirit of this healing story in the gospel today. The hemorrhaging woman from the gospel actually happens among us in surprising and amazing ways that refreshes our spirit. I was refreshed right in the middle of the Mass with my faith of having been nourished by a stranger who came to communion convinced that God would nourish him that day. I will never forget it. It is calling in my heart, and I urge you that it calls in each of our hearts. Where is that sense of purpose, that depth of faith in you, in me, in us? We've been baptized in the Spirit. Let us be baptized in being witnesses to God's love. Thank you, brother of the wheelchair, brother struggling with oxygen. You remind me that healing really happens because it is true. And I am now convinced more than ever that if you can be touched by the hem of the cloak, you can and may be healed. Let it be a spirit of hope that we celebrate and cherish in our lives.